Welcome, brave listeners, to Wilhelm Presents Frightening Tales. I'm your host, Wilhelm. Tune in each week where I entertain my listeners with another dark and creepy tale of the paranormal, donated by authors from all over the world. If you are an author of some paranormal fiction and would like to share a story with my listeners, submit one at frighteningtales.com. And while you're there, tune in for more than 100 episodes of previous content. Today's episode is written by Chloe DeVos, a young writer of poetry and stories. Some of her poetry has been published in local journals. When she's not writing, she enjoys drawing, reading manga, taking walks, while studying history. Well, maybe not both of those at the same time, but you get the idea. To learn more about Chloe, you can find her on Twitter at WomanDust, and on Instagram at SvenguliNumar, and on her WordPress blog at, well, I'll just leave the link in the notes. Her story today, The Lovely Parasite. Mexico, circa 1438. The beautiful serpent woke slowly. She lifted her head from the cold, jagged stone, stretching her stiff neck as her tail coiled into a glistening black and gold spiral. Her lidless eyes focused on the cave around her, the soft dripping of clear, icy water, the sleepy bats dangling like delicate black icicles over her head, the craggy stone walls that curved and jutted like the inside of a skull. She sat up, rising to a slither. The strange light glowed, a bright orange, one she faintly recalled. Why? Her eyes burned at the harsh glow. She tossed one arm over her eyes, begging the gods it would fade quickly as it appeared. And it was promised. There would only be the faintest golden light for Quetzalcoatl's daughter. They thought their law was written in stone. She thought. But they forgot how quickly stone fades to sand. Her eyes stung with sizzling pain, so she pressed her arm in deeper and deeper. She grit her teeth. The gods weren't as merciful as she'd hoped. Quetzalcoatl whispered a low, feminine voice. "Donatsin, please. Look at me. I've traveled a long way to see you, and I need your help." Quetzalcoatl sighed and lifted her arm from her eyes. This human sounded desperate, especially if she was willing to trudge deep through the cold cavern of a serpent woman. When she saw the human, she shuddered. She was a short, middle-aged woman carrying a long, glowing torch. She wore a long, pale blouse and skirt secured by a thick red sash. Her glossy black hair was piled into two buns on each side of her head, emphasizing the roundness of her bronze face. She had a sharp nose and thin lips, but her eyes were wide and childlike. "I understand," hissed the beautiful serpent, adjusting her own elaborate horny hairstyle. "But you are no stranger. I can tell. Perhaps if you tell me your problem, I'll recognize you from that." The woman twisted her mouth. I'm not sure about that. Would it not be simpler for me to introduce myself? Tikualtzincoatl tipped her head back and laughed a scratchy, huffing sound. "It would," she said. "But where is the fun in that?" "This isn't fun," snapped the woman. "This is an emergency." Tikualtzincoatl rose to her full height. As a serpent from the waist down, her human half resembled any noblewoman's. With her gold jewelry and crimson-stained teeth, she was stylish. Aside from her forked tongue, long, thin nostrils, and gold, lidless eyes, she was slender but wide-boned, with a ragged white piece of cloth draped from her neck to her breasts. The scales of her black and gold tail glistened in the firelight and reflected in her golden eyes like the ancient flames of another world. "If it's that urgent, tell me." And, she thought, perhaps I can best place her face as well. The woman took a deep breath and closed her eyes before opening them slowly. "It's my husband. His arm's been broken for weeks and not even the healers have cured it. He's in terrible pain, unable to make or sell pottery. So we've been foraging for any herbs and berries we can find. Please, heal him." The beautiful serpent laughed again. "Forgive me, dear lady, but I am not that kind of healer." The woman knit her brow and her bottom lip quivered as if she was about to cry. Do you remember me? Or him?" "No, I must have been thinking of someone else." "My precious human mother," the serpent thought, shivering. "She must be busy pounding corn into a thick yellow powder. She must have restless eyes, deep wrinkles carved into her forehead, and thick white calluses on her hands. How many women could she be?" Tikualtzincoatl looked away, suddenly feeling guilty for the heart-pounding pleasure she took in this situation. Still, there was no denying her feelings, so she smiled as she stroked the woman's shoulder. She mistook this for comfort and smiled back. "But will you be for me? You are my last hope, Tanatzin. Your father is the great Quetzalcoatl, is he not?" "Damn!" Tikualtzincoatl hissed, flicking a long forked tongue between her crimson teeth. "Yes, but that does not matter to this situation." Her eyes flared aggressively. "What you described is something only I can remedy." The woman nodded and dabbed at her eyes. I understand, holy lady. I am sorry. Please, come quick. We're losing daylight." She darted out of the cave, the red gold glow of her torch flickering through the darkness. The beautiful serpent grit her teeth and slithered after her. "Oh, Father," she thought, heart pounding. "I pray I am not prideful enough to outrun the limited speed of the human." By the time they reached the outside world, the sun was setting. As it descended through yawning pink clouds, its rippling orange glow comforted the beautiful serpent. She smiled. Her uncle, Zottel, must have been hard at work, guarding the sun as he escorted it into the underworld. Another great god. If only I could live up to his legacy. As she grit her teeth, they moved deeper into the city, passing pale, cracked brick and stone buildings. Tecuitzalcoatl shivered at their majestic beauty, hoping she would visit one of those. She'd never seen the inside of a human house before. It would be a lot warmer and prettier than the icy stone of her own cave. But the woman led her into a small house made of fraying gray-brown logs. "Thank the gods no one saw you," the woman muttered. "Our house is much too small for guests." The beautiful serpent laughed coarsely, tipping her head back. "Then why am I here?" The woman narrowed her eyes. "You are no guest. Everyone who comes to my house is family." Tecuitzalcoatl nodded, but felt her stomach lurch. "Family? If it's anything like my family, it might go terribly, terribly wrong." Perhaps she was joking. The woman led her inside, and the serpent was amazed at the hard, craggy gray walls and floor. She breathed deeply. It reminded her of her home cave, with its cold stone surroundings and the whimpers of bats. It reminded her of Father's low, rolling voice and the jade-green feathers shrouding his warm eyes. A hard lump rose in her throat. "Oh, Father, if only I had one drop of your greatness in my blood." A man lay on the floor, covered by a thin pale blue blanket. He yawned and opened his eyes slowly, stretching his lean, muscular arms forward. Like his wife, his skin must have been a deep bronze, but it was now light tan from staying indoors. His skin was pulled tightly across sharp cheekbones and tugged at the pointed tip of his nose. Wiry black hair stuck to one sweat-soaked cheek like a scar. "This is my husband," she explained, gesturing towards him. "Akalen." "Akalen," repeated the beautiful serpent. Akalen raised his head slowly. Large shadows hung under his eyes, and his lips were dry and shriveled. He winced as he lifted his left leg. Even the beautiful serpent shuddered. She couldn't bear to see a human in pain. "Hello," he gasped. "You must be Tecuitzalcoatl. Are you not the great healer?" The beautiful serpent lifted a long, gold-encrusted hand, trying not to tremble. "Hello, sir. Relax. I am but a mere half-god." The woman lifted an eyebrow, but her body went stiff. "You may have human blood, lady, but please use your power." Tecuitzalcoatl twisted her mouth. "Don't worry, I was." She paused, scratching her chin. "Lady, you may want to look away from this." The woman didn't answer, eyes glazing with tears as she shuffled into the other room. Akalen whispered the beautiful serpent, bending near the man. "How are you?" I His voice wriggled into a tired rasp. I feel like I'm fading. The pain, I used to be able to limp, to move, even to spin wet clay on the wheel. He sighed, his eyes closing as he did. But now, all I want is to hear a bird sing, to let the sea soothe me like a mother, just one last time. The beautiful serpent inhaled deeply, digging for some shadow of what her father taught her centuries ago. Ah, but the world was not created for our amusement. The priority of the stars is not to spark wonder in me. It is to twinkle gently through the blue-black sky. The priority of the sea is not to cool my skin, but to roll and ripple with my sins. Nature was not made to entertain, but to exist. Not to become, but to be. And I want to be. Please, help me. Quetzalcoatl slithered close to Akelan and pressed her forehead to his. She felt warmth. She felt the slow rhythm of his breath as it flowed in and out of his mouth. She felt the slow rhythm of his life as it bloomed and faded from his flesh. Her stomach churned. I don't want to, but I know it must be done. The serpent unhinged her jaw, opening her mouth into a long, gaping maw, and her crimson teeth extended into sharp, jagged fangs. Wrapping her mouth around Akelan's neck, she snapped it in one swift crack. Oh, wow! She glanced over her shoulder. The woman was still in the other room, but she had to have heard what happened. Maybe I was too harsh, she thought. But wouldn't it be harsher to let him suffer? Quetzalcoatl leant closer and licked his neck. He tasted salty, as all humans do, but it was balanced with a smooth bit of sweetness. Her stomach growled as she took a bite out of his neck. The meat was every bit as salty and sweet as she expected, with a soft, chewy texture. She kept eating, ignoring the blood trickling into a sticky red-black puddle on the rough floor. She ate quickly, stuffing the meat into her mouth until she heard a high-pitched scream. Several footsteps thundered into the room. The beautiful serpent whirled around. The woman's eyes bulged in horror as her chin nearly hit her chest. She yanked the beautiful serpent away from her husband and pinned her against the wall. Her fingernails dug into the reptilian's skin like pointed needles. Through clenched teeth, her words came in hard rasps. What did you do? The serpent froze. What could she say now? This poor woman, whose name she hadn't even asked, had seen her at her weakest, allowing the reptilian side to take over. But I'm not just an animal, she thought, straightening up a bit. I am a demigoddess, the daughter of Quetzalcoatl himself. It's about time I showed her who I really am. I am doing what I promised, she said, arching an eyebrow. I promised to heal, and I have healed dear Akalan in the pain and misery that plagues him. Isn't that wonderful? The woman arched her own eyebrow, definitely not convinced. Akalan was my husband. No matter how painful, there must have been some sort of medicine besides... She aimed a shaky finger at the puddle of blood. Again, the serpent suddenly felt small, like one of those little green snakes that squiggled away from humans' rushing feet. Now she was at the mercy of the woman's footsteps and the sharp rock of the path. No, the serpent thought. I put myself in this situation, so I have to get myself out. With all the powers I have. Akalan's eyes shot open. He rolled over and sat up too quickly for one with such injuries. Tiku Altsin slithered back. His face wasn't as tight as it had been, and in fact his eyes shimmered with a strange, bright hope. He shuffled under the blanket before leaning back. Thank you, beautiful serpent, he whispered. The pain has passed. Chantico, I love you. Chantico. The woman knelt and wrapped her hand around his. As his eyes closed softly, hot tears streamed down her cheeks. The serpent's heart raced. Oh, gods! Why must the flesh I need steal what the humans need most? Holy lady, I am confused, she muttered. You claim to heal, only to kill like a wild animal. Serpents do not kill because we are wild. We kill because we are hungry. Besides, you forget we bring you fertility and plenty. You ungrateful hag, she thought. Then eat something else. As I said before, my dear, I am not a traditional healer. It's surprising how you didn't know about the sacrifices. When Chantico frowned, she continued. I'm quite close to the gods, and they claim what I do is merciful, so as not to prolong suffering. After all, what earthly cures do your mortal healers have left? Chantico considered this for a moment, squinting as she massaged her chin. Well, the sap and herbal remedies certainly did nothing for his leg. In fact, they made him feel sick. She wiped away a tear, yet a small smile crept upon her face. How long have you been healing again? Tiku Altsin inhaled deeply, shivering with the breath. Longer than any human has been alive. Chantico shuddered and tossed the blanket over the blood-stained floor, heart pounding in her throat. More tears pricked her eyes as the serpent spoke. Now, follow me, Chantico. I have something to show you. Chantico carried a fresh torch, the heat of the flame coating her skin in shiny sweat. She walked behind the beautiful serpent, whose slithering was so smooth and fast it was impossible to match. The serpent sped up, until she was nothing but a black and white blur. Chantico grit her teeth and darted after her. She sprinted at a pace that had her 2 steps behind the serpent. As the flame's heat sizzled her skin, her heart raced, and her breath came in hard rasps. My gods, she thought, this creature must really be holy. No mortal being moves like that. Akalan, she remembered his warm lips against her cool skin, the little flames they blazed through her veins. She remembered the way his gentle brown eyes lit up when he threw a wet lump of clay on the wheel, shaping it into something useful yet elegant. His lean, dark hands would be caked in dirt. His mouth would lift into a sleepy, satisfied smile. No matter how tired he was, his words would drip with wise beauty. A dream is tough to explore, he'd said. Some of it is warm and smooth, but it's also craggy with scars that scrape your hands. You can't reach every part, for some of it is so cold it sizzles in the veins. But you throw yourself in anyway, and blossom into all the warmth dreams have. She wiped away another hot tear, shocked that this was her reality to live, and not a dream to explore. I suppose it was his time. No other cure seemed to help. She felt an icy breeze shove her forward. Does he want me to talk to her? Holy lady, she gasped. Holy lady. Tikuatzincoatl whirled about. Her bright, lidless stare would have shocked Shantiko otherwise, but the curious shine was strangely childlike. Oh, she said. You should be able to keep up, but I'll stop if you want. As the serpent stopped, so did Shantiko, who took a few breaths before finishing their journey into the cave. The wide, shadowy passage was colder than before. She shivered. Gusts of wind hissed like an angry ghost. The ground was icy with jagged edges that sliced her delicate soles with each step. Glossy black snakes slithered into small holes in the walls. Sickly white fish glowed in shallow ponds, their crimson eyes flickering like flames. Bats shrieked and spread their gauzy black wings, guarding whatever space they found. Goosebumps prickled her skin, but Shantiko ran until they reached the beautiful serpent's chamber. Shantiko's mouth dropped open. She wasn't sure why, but the chamber felt bigger now. The craggy gray wall swelled wider and into a high stalactite prickled ceiling. The beautiful serpent slithered atop a flat, raised stone like a dais and curled into a restful pose. She brushed one hand across a craggy wall to reveal bright smudges of color. Shantiko frowned, slowly stepping forward. She blinked. She couldn't believe how much had happened in such a short amount of time. Trudging through the cave, finding the serpent demigoddess, Akalan's shocking death, and now this? Oh, wow, she gasped, examining the colorful image on the wall. What is that? Tikuatzincoatl took a deep breath, running her fingers through her long black hair. You see the blood, don't you? You see my fangs, you see their flesh. She pursed her lips, as if she was embarrassed. but her eyes glistened with pride. I'm surprised you never heard of this, dear Shantako, this life I had. Shantako frowned, deciphering what the serpent meant by this. Was it anything like what you did with Akalan? The beautiful serpent nodded. Yes, I believe so. You believe so? Stop speaking in riddles. It's as if they never happened, the serpent murmured, her eyes glowing with tears. The paintings are still here, but my memories are not. All details aside, do you remember what you did? I must seem like such a monster to you. But I brought mercy. I stopped them from suffering, and I saved poor healers the fruitless tasks of cures that don't work. I never thought of it until now. I'm afraid. I know Akalan is at peace. I know he could never stand pain. Shantako studied one ancient painting. Red gold humanoid figures stood in straight lines as a taller human stood off to the side, gripping a long staff. His coat was bright yellowed and blotched in black spots, the customary fur of a jaguar warrior. She traced the hard black brushstrokes with her eyes. One headless human collapsed into a shallow crimson pool of blood. A slender female figure towered over it, seated on a long tail with black scales shining as it coiled. Her torso was perfectly human, with light brown skin, small breasts, and long arms covered in turquoise bracelets. Black hair was twisted into a bun, emphasizing a glossy turquoise necklace and earrings. The beautiful serpent. Between a long, jagged pair of fangs, she clutched a human head. Shantako raised her eyebrows. Though Tiku Altsin showed her what she was capable of, it was still interesting to see that she had done it more often in the past. And not only that, but was worshipped for it. Then again, sacrifice was the ultimate act of devotion. I am virtuous enough to nourish the gods. No human has ever seen these before, said the serpent, folding her hands behind her back. You're every bit as intrigued as I expected, but not afraid. That's a gift. Shantako blinked, flattered by the demigod's compliment. Well, thank you. Still nervous, my dear? I know you better, and I suppose I'm more curious than afraid. They're the same thing anyway, don't you think? Not in my world, but perhaps in yours. The serpent paused to run her fingers along the paint. I admit I still eat humans from time to time, but the ceremonies have faded until I mostly eat whatever I can find here. Fish, bats, mice. It's a simple life, but a holy one. Shantako narrowed her eyes, confused by the demigod's admission. She looked at the paintings, then back at the beautiful serpent. But you're still a respected half-god, Tenatsin. When did people stop sacrificing for you? The beautiful serpent looked Shantako directly in the eye and clasped her hand behind her back again. My cult was a small and old. You know, I was close to my devotees. They painted me, they wrote about me, they sacrificed for me. But they died out, and with it the new generation's reverence for me. Oh, that's strange. Is it? You no longer worry Kirik Awari, do you? Shantiko chuckled. Ah, I've never even heard of that one. The Tarascan god of fire. He was worshipped long before you were born, so well into my life. He was so very kind, yet so very forgotten. I'd rather not end up like him. Shantiko smiled, and the serpent smiled back. They didn't speak for minutes. They simply smiled. Shantiko's breath deepened. Nothing about it was awkward, only pleasant. A warmth surged through her chest. I never thought I'd consider a half-goddess a friend. But it seems she regards me the same way. Once her veins stopped sizzling, she shared her idea. Perhaps we'll do it our way, Holy Lady. I'll find humans devoted enough to you for sacrifice. The beautiful serpent's eyes bulged, glistening with hope. You'll do that for me? Yes. You don't have any other responsibilities? Shantiko shook her head. No, I've no children, and I'm not an artisan like Akalan. He'd want me to keep busy, anyway. Such a dear man. She smiled slowly. I am free to serve. Tikualtzincoatl's mouth twisted to one side. Oh, but then we'll need a jaguar warrior, and god, and... Never mind, Shantiko. It'll take longer than I expected. It won't take as long as all this time you've spent waiting for their return. Better to try than not, you know. Tikualtzincoatl shot her a playful grin. That reminds me of something my aunt said, she beamed. There is no way to budget joy. What you feel, you feel. And sometimes the warmth we feel bubbles up into your heart, spilling from moment into a lifetime. Well, she's just as wise as you. The beautiful serpent chuckled softly, her golden eyes shimmering with joy. Thank you, dear Shantiko. I am grateful to call you my friend. Anything for you, Holy Mother. Shantiko reached out her hand, and the serpent held it. Her skin was warm and smooth against Shantiko's, relaxing every muscle of her body. Now, said the serpent, running a forked, scarlet tongue over her fangs. I think we have a lot of work to do. Shantiko winked, her own mouth watering. Yes, I'm here to serve you. Thank you, brave listeners, for joining me on another dark story. I urge all my listeners to go out and find more content by our weekly author, if you're not too timid. If you enjoyed today's story and you've tuned in on YouTube, please click the like button. And if you don't want to miss further stories, click the subscribe button. And if you are present today on Spotify and enjoyed the story, you're only more than welcome to leave a comment. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave the show a rating as you see fit. All these little things help the show. And wherever you listen, please do me a favor and share today's story, if you can. Then tune in next week for another frightening tale, if you're brave enough.